What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Dragged Across Concrete, directed by S. Craig Zeller, starring an ensemble cast that includes Vince Vaughn and Mel Gibson. Now, this movie tells the story of these two police officers, played by Vince Vaughn and Mel Gibson, who are suspended from active duty because they were caught using excessive police force on a criminal. And now they have to go to other means to pretty much give themselves some financial stability. Mel Gibson's character has a wife with MS. He has a daughter who constantly gets harassed. He lives in a shitty neighborhood. Vince Vaughn is somebody who wants to start a life with his girlfriend, but his financial woes are also not that stellar. But on the flip side, we have recently released convict named Henry, played by Tori Kettles, who is trying to create a better life for his who wants to have a better life for his disabled brother and his mother, who is forced to go into prostitution just to pay her bills. So right off the bat, this movie has got right off the bat, this movie has a very noirish style to it. These characters are all shades of gray. There's no one in this movie that is heroic in a sense. Everyone is morally complex, and they have to do very shady things in order to get a better life for themselves. And right off the bat, I like how S. Craig Zeller goes to the noir genre with this movie. He doesn't create likable hero characters. He creates these real people who have to do very questionable things in order to have some semblance of a life. And I like how Zeller handles this story very well. I think the acting in this movie from everyone in this cast is rock solid. This is Mel Gibson at his absolute best. He plays a character called Ridgman. I think Mel Gibson can still command a presence on screen. Take away the man's personal life and all the controversy that surrounds him, he is still a really good actor. And I actually really like the chemistry with Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn. You know, Vince Vaughn, yeah, he's known to do a lot of comedies, but when the man can get serious, he can get really serious. And I think this is a great performance by Vince Vaughn. He's playing a serious character in Lorenzetti, the partner of Richmond, but he also incorporates a little bit of humor here and there. But it's not like overblown, over the top humor. It's very straight laced, stone faced humor. But it's great. I think Gibson and Vaughn work really well off one another. I think Tori Kettles, who plays the character of Henry, I thought he was good in the movie as well. I like the dynamic between him and the Michael Jai White character known as Biscuits. I like how they're longtime friends, and their relationship kind of sort of parallels the relationship of Ridgman and Lorenzetti. So I think all that stuff is great. That stuff is really cool. And this movie is boasted by a really strong supporting cast. You have Laurie Holden, who plays the disabled wife of Ridgman. I thought that she was really good in the movie as well. Uh, like I mentioned earlier, Michael Jai White, he's great. He's really good in this movie. Uh, mm, this movie has an appearance by Don Johnson, who plays the police captain who is forced to suspend Lorenzetti and Ridgman. He's in one scene, but it's a good scene, and he serves his purpose. And for what it is, he was fine in the movie as well. My Thomas Ketchman, who plays the villain Vogelman, he's in this movie. Vogelman is just there as something for these people to do. The character of Vogelman, his only purpose is to be that of the film's antagonist, if you will, and to and that's pretty much what he does. He's as a villain, he has no personal connection to any of these people. He is just there. And now we're getting into what I feel are kind of the movie's negatives. Now, there are certain characters in this movie that it sets up and does absolutely nothing with them. Like I said, the Vogelman character, he's just there as a villain. There's really nothing to him at all. Thomas Ketchman does a good performance, but I think Vogelman needed to have more of a reason. I think this movie needed to establish Vogelman more as a looming threat, as opposed to just someone who's actually just there. Because I don't really get the sense that Vogelman is this threat. I mean, yeah, we get scenes peppered in of his crew, robbing places and killing people, but I never get the full sense that Vogelman, from the start of this movie, is this looming threat. It almost as if the movie just shoehorns him in once the cops get suspended, just so that they have something to do while on suspension. It is what it is. I would have done something. I would have done something more akin to Die Hard. Give Vogelman a little bit more of a presence and a little bit more of a personality. That's just me personally. Uh, this movie has Jennifer Carpenter in this movie, who plays a woman who recently gave birth to a child and has become completely neurotic and attached to said child. And midway through, and pretty much near the end of the movie, close to the end of the movie, Vogelman and his crew end up robbing this bank that the Jennifer Carpenter character works at, and she is brutally killed. She has her fingers and her face blown off. I think that is a complete waste of Jennifer Carpenter's talents. You set up this character, and we see her home life. We see what her personality is. I would not have killed her off because Vogelman and his crew end up taking a hostage. There's no reason why the Jennifer Carpenter character could not have been the hostage that they've taken. And since she has such an attachment to her child, just seeing that neurosis with her being kidnapped and that sense of abandonment, it would almost drive her to do whatever it takes just to go home to her child. I would have had her get kidnapped by Vogelman and his crew, and not some random bank teller who ends up getting killed anyway at the end of the movie. So it's kind of like you set up Jennifer Carpenter's character, you kill her off, and then you do a hostage, and you end up killing her also after she kills Lorenzetti. I don't like it. I think it's complete way. I think that entire section of the movie with Jennifer Carpenter is completely wasteful. It's five. It's like, I don't know, roughly 5 to 10 minutes. You could have easily cut out of this movie, and it would have done absolutely nothing to change it. If anything, you could have still shown the bank scene, but you could have done it by having Lorenzetti and Ridgman just drive past it, as is in the movies, but without having to have the elongated scene of what actually happens inside said bank. You could have done the old Reservoir Dogs trick, where we don't see the crime, we hear about the crime, because what you did, it's a good scene, it's very suspense ridden, but it serves, to me, it just serves no purpose, and it brings the movie down from a pacing. And that's another complaint I got about this movie. This movie is a slow burn. Slow burn movies are actually really, really good and can be really well done. But this movie, it kind of drags its feet in a lot of areas, and it has a lot of lingering shots where it goes on for maybe 20 seconds way too long, and you're like, okay, you're dwelling on this for way too long. Can we move up the process a little bit? I understand you want to build tension and suspense, but there's a difference between slow burn and then there's just like, okay, you're just lingering now. And I like S. Craig Zahler because I enjoyed Bone Tomahawk. I think the man's a really good director, but when he does his slow burn stuff, he does it in a way where it can be really excruciating and it can really halt the pacing and story of the movie, and he's got to work on that because a movie like this, it does not need to be nearly 3 hours long. This movie could be about 230 minutes to one. This movie needs to be 130 to 140 tops. This movie clocks in at nearly 3 hours, and it's because because the movie moves at a snail's pace, and it does have characters who end up being very disposable, and it has scenes that don't really add much to the overall arcing of the story. There are scenes that you could have taken out of this movie and just said it through dialogue, and would have had the movie move at a much more faster and quicker pace. So, my biggest complaint: certain characters are misused. Certain characters are misused. The pacing is very, very just clunky in a lot of areas as well too. But like I said earlier, from a directorial standpoint, as Craig Zahler, he's a great director. He's a really great director. He knows how to create tension and suspense within his scenes. He knows how to let his actors just do their thing. And I also think that Zahler, he does write some really good dialogue in his movies. I will compare Zahler to that of a Quentin Tarantino in terms of his writing. He's not at that Tarantino level, but it's very, very similar in a lot of ways as well, where he lets these characters act like real people. So I commend him for that. The cinematography in this movie is really, really good. This is a grounded, gritty, dark, almost humorless type of movie where everyone is an amoral character. No one in this movie is innocent, and I like that. It can be very grim in a lot of areas as well. When this movie crosses the line to violence, it can get extremely violent. Nothing against that whatsoever. I like it. So yeah, those are pretty much overall my thoughts for Dragged Across Concrete. Overall, I do recommend this movie. I find it to be really, really good, and I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. This movie is worth a watch. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.